of faith.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you'll love this.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend / my co-host, Devin. And today we're here to give our spoiler-free thoughts and insights on Cocaine Bear. That's right, Cocaine Bear. And before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at FilmOptix. That is Optix with an X. Or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Devin, how's your week been, buddy? It's been, about a week? Yeah, it's been a while. Well, not too long, but it's been about a week since we've hopped on the mic. So how's your week been?
Yeah, we saw this movie on a Wednesday. It was a nice pick-me-up, real nice booster on a hump day. Really get you going, get the energy flowing. You just take a line of Cocaine Bear. Apparently AMC was giving out free gummy bears if you bought tickets.
So my friend who came to our screening, he lives in Kentucky, Bowling Green, Kentucky, and he bought a shirt. He's a Bears fan, and he bought a shirt where it says Cocaine Bear, and it's like the Chicago Bears logo on it. So it's an awesome football shirt, and it's an awesome movie shirt. And I asked him to grab me one. So I'm hoping he can pull through.
Sounds like a good combo. I feel like they should have done free gummy bear and free fun dip. Like that's the combo for this movie. Get some a nice powdery substance in you.
The bare necessities, if you will. There you go. The simple bare necessities for sure. Well, yeah, for me, my weekend was my week, I should say, it went by pretty fast, actually, but I had a lot to do. I did a review for Hi-Fi Rush over on Critics Play Games YouTube channel. Got a free game out of it, which was pretty cool. So that was a lot of fun. And now I'm finally able to dive in to Hogwarts Legacy. So I've been playing that. My friend actually let me borrow his PlayStation 5 copy because I needed to play it on the big screen. I was staring at a computer screen all week. I'm like, I just was not in the mood to play it on my PC. I could have played it on my Steam Deck, but you don't get all the cool little bells and whistles. It does run well on the Steam Deck for sure, but you just got to kind of mess with the settings there a little bit. But I've been playing it on my PlayStation 5. Got that nice HDR. It looks beautiful on my OLED. I absolutely love it. So I'm a few hours in, and it's great. It's great stuff. But with all that small chitter chatter out of the way, with all that housekeeping out of the way, as I mentioned before, we're going to be getting into our spoiler-free review of Cocaine Bear, which is, as of now, playing in theaters as of this recording. So definitely go watch it. Go take your friends. It is a wild ride. We're going to get into our initial reactions, then a little bit of trivia, and then we're going to give our final thoughts and ratings for this film, and then we're going to close out. This will be a shorter episode today. I have a lot to get done, so we wanted to get this out to the people because we got some The Last of Us to get back to, which I believe Mike will be joining us back for episode 7. Yeah, we got 3 episodes left. It's crazy. But with all that said, we'll be right back after this introduction to Cocaine Bear.
Mr. McKendry, have you ever done cocaine?
What? Why do you ask?
Just wondering if it has long-term side effects. For the bear, of course. If it just did a little bit.
Well, it could create a habit for the bear.
What if they never want to do it again?
Oh, then it should be fine. But Mama Bear and Papa Bear would be very angry because drugs, especially cocaine, are very, very bad.
What if they would never find out?
Oh, Henry, we always find out.
And we are back with our Cocaine Bear spoiler-free review. This movie is directed by the Miss Elizabeth Banks and stars Kerry Russell, O'Shea Jackson Jr., and Alden. I always mess up his last name, Devin. Do you know how to pronounce Alden's last name?
Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich. Alden Ehrenreich. I do apologize. I didn't want to butcher it, just in general, but yes. And many, many more. We also have a little bit of Ray Liotta.
Rest in peace.
Yes, this was his last film that he was in before his passing. And I got to say, he does a really, really good job, as he always has. And the synopsis is as followed for Cocaine Bear. An oddball group of cops, criminals, tourists, and teens converge on a Georgia forest where a black bear goes on a murderous rampage after unintentionally ingesting cocaine, that sweet, that white rock. I forgot whatever else they call it. There's a lot of names for cocaine out there, but
That booger sugar.
Booger sugar?
Yep. It's one of my favorites.
I've never heard of booger sugar. I've heard of dust, but I think we need to lay down the rules here. Crack and cocaine obviously cut from the same cloth, but totally different. Cocaine is like the rich man's drug. And then there's crack. So, yeah. I've heard so many different names for cocaine. It's crazy. But so as I mentioned before, we're about to get into our initial reactions for Cocaine Bear. So I'm going to pass it over to Devin so he can give his spoiler-free thoughts on the movie.
Oh, Cocaine Bear. Where have you been all my life? I feel like we were definitely looking forward to this movie coming up into this month. And then it just kind of, I just wasn't expecting it to be this good, to be honest. It's just such a fun movie overall. It's definitely a lot funnier than I was expecting. And it's also a lot bloodier and gorier than I was expecting, which is really good that they kind of went with that combo. Because usually if you go more of the comedy side, then you kind of have some off-screen kills and it's not as cool or gruesome, but they went all out for these kills, which definitely added to the effect. Cast is great. I feel like Isaiah Whitlock Jr. as the police officer Bob, MVP, stole the show. His standoff on the roof was the funniest part for me.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I was dying laughing. I actually got to tweet about it a few days ago as far as my initial reactions go. And I simply said that, Cocaine Bear slaps and that I haven't laughed this hard at the movies in a very long time. And I 100% mean
It
that.
gave me mid 2000s comedy vibes, kind of like the Hangover era.
Yeah, it really did. We don't get a lot of good comedies nowadays. And this being a comedy, 80s classic horror, it's pure unadulterated fun. And it has this fun little horror slasher vibe to it because as Scott Seiss said during his little, I love the marketing for this movie, by the way, during Scott Seiss's little, or is it Sea Ice? I think it's Seiss. His little rant where he's like, here's what you need to do to watch before Cocaine Bear. And then he said absolutely nothing. He's like, you don't need to read a comic book from 1978. He's like, if you know what cocaine and bear is, you're up to speed, which is 100% true. It is a must see for everyone. I think everyone should go and bring their friends to watch this movie and just have a fun time, because this is basically the reason why I go to the movies. Partially is, you do go and watch some movies for the story or for a certain celebrity or a certain movie star. But for this, it was just so much fun. When I watched it with critics, it was more of a open invitation for people to see a little bit early. But as soon as it started, there was these two older ladies in our theater. And they had these thick Southern accents. And this one lady just yells across the theater. I guess her friend was sitting on the other side. She was like, Pamela? The woman responded back. She's like, yeah. And the other lady's like, I think this is going to be good. And it was. My entire theater was laughing at that entire exchange. And everyone just had a great time with this movie. And it's, it's not a movie that's meant to be taken lightly or seriously. It is an hour and 30 minutes runtime. And that's all it needs to be. And honestly, even the CGI for the bears looked pretty good for it being, this slasher type thing. But this is based on a true story, which is also really, really cool. So that's just my 2 pieces of it, or my 2 cents, I should say, because originally, I'm not sure if you know this, Devin, but Cocaine Bear was actually the working title for the movie, but the producers, Lord and Miller, who released it, they couldn't think of anything else, so they just called it Cocaine Bear, which is really, really awesome. But
yes, as soon as I saw Lord and Miller pop up on the screen, I was like, all right, this is going to be good. You got that stamp of approval. Yeah,
they definitely had a huge impact on this movie, and it shows. It's so I remember when this movie got announced, I think it was maybe 2 years ago. Everyone's like, oh, Elizabeth Banks and Cocaine Bear. But for those who do not know, this movie is inspired by a true event that happened in 1985 when a corrupted Kentucky cop turned to a drug smuggler type thing. He lost I think it was around 40 kilos of cocaine, or 80 pounds altogether. I'm not sure what the conversion rate is, but he lost it all in this forest. And I mean, it's a really interesting story where it was, before he escaped, he had 80 pounds of cocaine strapped to his body. And then the parachute malfunctioned as he was jumping out of the plane. And probably from the extra weight. And then that's when the cocaine kind of spread throughout this area within Georgia. And it, consumed by a black bear who overdosed on it. And they actually had to put the bear down eventually. So I believe he's in Kentucky, the bear itself. But I believe his name was, or he was referred to as Pablo Escobar or Escobar. Altogether, he is on display at Lexington, Kentucky, in the Fun Mall, I think it's called, the Kentucky Fun Mall. So it's unconfirmed who his previous owners were before Waylon Jennings, but just a little bit of history fact there for you. I know I've been talking for a bit, but I'm going to pass it over to Devin. So was there anything else you wanted to mention about this movie, as this is a spoiler free? We're not going to get into the funny bits and whatnot, but I wanted to ask you really quick. Did you notice the little boy who plays in this movie? Does he look familiar to you at all?
The boy and the girl did to me. The boy obviously from Sweet Tooth, our good boy from Sweet Tooth, Gus.
Christian Convery. Yeah.
The girl was she was in Florida Project way back when.
She was. Really that's right. I knew I recognized her. Brooklyn Prince. That's right. She was in Florida Project. It's been a while since I've seen that. A good while. And then, Christian Convery. He plays Henry in the movie. Yeah, from Sweet Tooth. Man, he looks, I guess, how old is this kid? He's maybe around 12 years old, I think. Maybe 12, 13. He's got a baby face for sure. He looks exactly the same.
I was also going to mention, there's just something about a Southern accent that just makes everything funnier. That slow Southern drawl. And everyone in this movie nailed it. Especially the kids. I thought the kids did the best job with their accents.
Oh, yeah. The exchange between, that scene between him, the kids was hilarious, and I don't want to give anything else away, but
and this movie takes place in your backyard too.
Yeah, it does. Nashville, Tennessee. Let's go, baby.
Blood Mountain, is that a real place?
That I do not know. I've not heard of it, but I'm assuming it must be, because obviously, throughout the movie, this isn't an autobiography of the bear. It's just based on what happened, but I believe it is. I would have to double check because I have not had time to look too much into it. But yeah, man, it was, being in Nashville, it was so funny just to like, everyone wants to go to Nashville because, the mom played by Kerry Russell wanted to take her and her daughter to Nashville. I was like, yeah, come on down. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, actually, I wanted to mention one more thing for Christian Convery. He was actually in Venom as well. I'm not sure if you knew that. I don't know who he plays, but he's credited in Venom on IMDb.
Says he plays Joey, 8-year-old boy.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Well, maybe I can just look up his clip on YouTube because I do not want to watch that movie again.
He'll always be Gus to us.
Yeah, he will. He will. Man, Sweet Tooth is so good. So good. He did a bang up job. But yeah, I mean, going back to Cocaine Bear, it's just a wild ride. I think, the story is the story, but I think O'Shea Jackson Jr. was definitely one of, and Alden as well. Honestly, this entire cast was just standing out to me. And during the chase scene, that was probably my favorite scene of the entire movie. Like, just 100%. But did you have anything else you wanted to add, Devin, before we get into final thoughts and ratings?
I just loved like the way they were able to have everyone converge onto this reservation, like the Blood Mountain area, and all the characters just kind of start piling in one by one and just start to realize that there's a cocaine bear on the loose. I just love all the interaction between the characters. I love that every character is connected. Like, no matter how small the character is, they might pop back up sometime later. Doesn't matter if they were only on the screen for a couple minutes, but I don't know if you noticed, but the first two people in the movie, that first couple, their names were Olaf and Elsa. So that was pretty funny.
Were they really? Oh,
yeah.
Man. So yeah, the guy who plays Tormund in Game of Thrones, that was him during the very beginning of the movie. So I thought, I recognized him right away. But yeah, it's the slasher vibe thing. It's not like it's scary, but it's like hilariously funny. And there's a few good jump scares in there as well.
It's definitely more on the comedy side. It's just more so like the blood and gore would be the horror portion of it, if that's something that scares you. I think they did a really good job though. There's still a couple of really good kills. Like the ambulance scene, that was insane.
That was probably my favorite one. Yeah, that was probably my favorite kill was during the ambulance scene. That whole sequence was just a wild ride.
It was brutal too.
It was. And of course, we had Scott Seiss come through. And I was looking at
just
the screen.
Immediately recognized that guy.
I was like, I've seen him before. Yeah, he's a writer. He's a comedian. And yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. Okay.
How would you even describe his TikToks or whatever? Like he's the guy that gets angry at people when they complain to work to employees.
Well, it's funny because like he does a lot of relatable humor where like he did one where it's like, oh, like your PTO quest has been denied. And then it's as if he's playing.
Okay, he's known as Angry Retail Guy.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. It's basically all the things that you wish that you could say to your boss, during the actual conversation, but you'll definitely get fired. But like I said, the what did he say during the here's what you need to know about before seeing Cocaine Bear during the end? He said, it's conservatively better than Citizen Kane. Conservatively.
1,000 times.
People were not happy with that. But yeah, Angry Retail Guy, that would probably be like the best. He is hilarious. And I mean, just looking at the press, it looks like everyone just had a lot of fun with this movie altogether. So yeah, let's get into our final thoughts and ratings, or otherwise we'll be here all day. But Devin, go ahead and give your final thoughts and your ratings for Cocaine Bear.
Final thoughts, it's just a fun ride from start to finish. Contender for movie of the year, only 2 months in. There's not been many options, but 2 months in, I think it's up there.
Best picture?
Definitely. I mean, it could be. I don't know. They could get a nice Oscar sweep for good old Cocaine Bear. I wish he had a kind of a cool name. They just kind of called him Cocaine Bear. I guess it was a her when when the bear was laying on Alden Ehrenreich's character. He discovered that it was a her.
Yeah.
It's very funny. There was there's some weird editing throughout the movie. Like there was one moment where they did a flashback, like to a point where they just were. Like they didn't have to do a flashback because it just happened. It was very strangely edited. And also, like, I kind of wish we had a bit more time with O'Shea Jackson Jr. and Alden Ehrenreich's characters, David and Eddie. I would have liked some background on them because that's definitely a nice dynamic duo. It reminded me of what was it, Lemon and
Lemon
Tangerine.
And from Bullet Train. Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. It would have been cool if we got a bit more background with them as like a buddy duo. Would have been a bit more impactful for when things hit the fan. But yeah, other than that, like those are the only two real complaints I had. It's not like a mind-blowing story. It's a bear that does cocaine and becomes addicted to cocaine, and just the insanity that ensues. But yeah, overall, just a real fun time. A lot of laughs, really good kills, which is definitely very important for this. I feel like because the kills they could have easily just been off-screen kills, like a lot of comedies would do, but they went for it. They made them visceral and gnarly, which is definitely a big plus for me. So
yeah,
as far as score goes, I'd probably give it like a solid like 78, to be honest. Like, sure, it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a good time.
And that's how I would describe the movie to people. I do agree with the whole O'Shea Jackson and Alden comment. I thought they were hilarious, and I wish we would have had more with them. O'Shea's character was just hilarious. Like, he was just so like, oh, my shoes, you know, I love this jersey, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, I agree with that there. I wish we would got a little bit more backstory with them, but they were fantastic. And I would love to see them work together again. But yeah, like Devin said, for when it comes to expectations for this movie, like it's just a fun time, you know, like the story is what it is. Like, yeah, it's a very simple premise. It's very silly, but like sometimes that's all you need. That's all people want from a movie. They don't, you know,
I think a great comparison would be like Snakes on a Plane. Like, it's just that kind of absurdity, just entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as my score goes, I'll probably get it like at an 80 out of 100, which I think on Letterboxd I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars because I was just blown away. Like, you know, like, yeah, like it has flaws, but it's like for this kind of movie, you cannot take it seriously. I mean, it is based on true events, but at the same time, it's just some of that over the top fun humor that I think we really needed coming out of this movie, because we don't get a lot of good comedies. I actually did not watch the trailer prior to this, so I think that's why it came out to me a little bit more funny. But, you know, job well done to the cast and crew altogether. So yeah, that pretty much concludes our spoiler-free review of Cocaine Bear, and that is a wrap on today's episode. So if you like what you heard on today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X. And always make sure to share an episode of our podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, or your significant other. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. And now let's take a sneak peek at what's coming up on the show. So what we have coming up next, my gosh, we have our Scream 6 review, which is going to be a lot of fun to talk about, as well as our Creed 3, or AKA Creed 111. Just saying. That's a lot of Creeds. But no, we're going to be talking about covering Creed 3, Scream 6, and a few others as well. We're going to be covering The Last of Us each and every week. Episode 7 is coming right around the corner. Only a few more weeks left. And we also have The Mandalorian coming up and Ted Lasso. But I think we should save Ted Lasso for after, you know, the season finale. But we should definitely cover it. But you got to watch the first 2 seasons, first and foremost. But
I watched the first season.
Oh, second one's so good. I absolutely love it. But it's all coming to an end. I'm very sad. But what's out now on the podcast you can listen to our The Last of Us episodes 1 through 6 reviews on the podcast, as well as our Infinity Pool and that 90 show spoiler-free review. And you can listen to me talk about how Velma isn't as bad as what people make it out to be. But with all that said, thank you all for listening. And remember, if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. I'm Christian, and that was Devin signing off, and we'll see you guys in the next one.